I can't go on board with thinking that the homeopathy dimension is just like the domains of the metaphysics that professional philosophers utilize or study. Sorry. So I'm agreeing with you that the homeopathy domain is absurd, and that if they were to make up a method to study that domain, an intuition-guided research project to study the homeopathy domain, first I would need to see the details of that, but it seems to me that that would be absurd. And you're saying that that is absurd in the same way that my project is absurd with perfect being theology.
Yes.
Okay. It's because I'm trying to tie it back to the ontological argument. So this is what I would say with that. What if we stay imaginary just for a second at this stage of the argument? Let's just stay imaginary. Let's make the better property imaginary. Is that possible? Can we do that?
Sure.
Like, can we agree on what better might mean?
Sure, we can make up any imaginary definition you want.
Let's make one up and agree on it.
Sure.
So let's do it. Like, what do you like when you see when I say something like a human is better than a rock? What do you think I mean by it? Let's make something up real quick.
Has more qualities.
I know it sounds like a waste of time, but I'm going somewhere with this. I promise.
It has more qualities you like.
Well, that was kind of bad. Yes, I like those properties because typically the way these perfect being theologians will cash out the betterness would be in terms of intrinsic betterness. So it's like it wouldn't have any extrinsic relationship to what I would like or not. It would just be in itself good or better or bad. Now, from your perspective, even intrinsic qualities are imaginary, correct?
Yes.
Moral.
Sure.
Maybe, even though you agree there's the best possible world.
I'm trying to just go along with the argument here, trying to get we're going to make up a definition of better we can agree to.
So better, let's agree that better is cashed out in terms of intrinsic betterness.
Okay, so there's an intrinsic betterness property, right? Okay,
let me clear that up too. And I'm sorry to be pedantic and nitpicky. I really apologize. I love you. I don't mean to do this. My mind is annoying. We're not talking about the existence of a property, right? Because I don't agree with the properties existing. I'm a nominalist.
Okay, so what do you mean when you say something is better and it's not a property of the thing? How can it be better and not be a property of the thing?
Perfect. So there's a huge debate. I'm going to be very, very quick on that. So there's a debate between those people that think that ontology implies truth, or truth implies ontology. Okay. So if you say it's true that a certain thing is the case, and the reference of the thing, the word, is an actual property, that the property needs to exist in order for the statement to be true. That's a position. I think Quine actually held that. There's another position where what they do is, if you go to like quantified local logic, or quantified kinds of logic, or whatever, maybe you have to quantify over terms, and you have a value, and it's bound by the quantifier variable and all that stuff. You can have different interpretations of the quantifier, right? You can just say, you can just say, I'm going to deflate the quantifier and just say, in order for the statement to be true, it doesn't need to have to quantify over existing objects for it to be true. And I think Jody Azuni does this. And it's called a book called Deflating Existential Consequence. It's not important. All that's important is that there are views out there where it just says you can have true statements, and they don't necessarily have to ontologically commit themselves to what their terms quantify over or the reference of their singular terms. They don't need to actually refer to existing things.
Okay, so what does it mean for something?
This is what the anti-Platonists did.
What would it mean for something to be better if it doesn't refer to a property of the thing?
So you just have to come up with a successful paraphrase. So just say, it's better. A way to say that it's better is just to say it exemplifies the property of betterness, but then you just apply a paraphrase of that, which just says.
Well, you just said property, you said not a property. So it's not a property. So there's
here's the thing.
Nothing in that thing is intrinsically better than that thing. But
that is
still.
I'm saying it wrong. It's my fault. You can still make objective truth claims about the betterness relation in terms of the intrinsic stuff. You can say true things about that betterness relation without ontologically committing yourself to the existence of properties.
Yeah, and I'm asking how. How is it the case that there's no property about or in that object that is better than that object, yet it's still better than that object?
Because you can say true things. You can actually appropriate property talk and make true statements about that thing without ontologically committing yourself to the existence of abstract property.
Well,
you might be saying the same thing, honestly.
Well, no, I understand that sentence, but I'm asking, how do you do this? How does it mean? What does it mean for something to be better if there's nothing about it that's better?
Oh, here we go. So when you ask for what it means, this is semantics. So pick your semantic theory about betterness. So all this would mean is, okay, let's hash out what we mean by intrinsic betterness.
Well, okay, let me pick up on that real quick. So, like, if you can just pick whatever you want as a betterness definition, then you could pick the antithesis or an alternative to that, and it would be equally as valid. So there's no way.
Equally as valid, maybe.
What, like, for me, the reason it has to correspond to reality is because if there's like actually a better existing property somewhere, well then yes, that one wins. You don't get to just make up a different. It's just that one's going to be the one that's real. But if the only thing that makes it true is I like this definition of better, therefore this object is better than that object, nothing about that could be true because it's just a subjective definition you've made up. There would have to be some kind of truth maker to make one statement better than another, and that truth maker has to be something. I
don't necessarily endorse truth makers. That's ontologically profligate for me. But I'll stay away from that just for a second.
We can change the word. What makes the statement true that X is better than Y?
I don't even think that's a correct question. I would say that what makes the statement true, that illicitly presupposes truth making. I don't think they exist. I think propositions have truth conditions, not truth making.
Okay, what are the truth conditions that property A is greater than, or object A is better than object B?
Truth conditions would be it would be better if the thing had it as opposed to not having. So if you took away the property, it would be less good, intrinsically speaking, not extrinsic to anything else than it would.
Okay, but you can't use the word better when defining better. So I'm asking, what conditions make something better than not better?
No, wait, I think I can use the word better in the analysis of it, though.
Well, no, because if I'm asking what better is, and you put better in the analysis, well, then it's circular reasoning. It doesn't give me any context.
Yeah, it's hard for me to avoid circularity on certain paradigmatic levels for me. Anyway, I'll explore that in a second because I think you have a point there. But let me kind of unpack why I'm bumping into a wall here. I think when it comes to explanatory issues, we all have an explanatory ultimate. Otherwise, we're going to have infinite regress. Do you agree with that? In terms of explanation, we're just going to back and back and back and back, and we can't use the ultimate, the explanatory ultimate.
I guess so. Mine would be
in the actual explanation. Be an aspect of reality. I think that's
right. Like reality is not like all of reality is the ultimate thing. So yeah, some part of reality would be reality, the essence of reality.
Yeah, but when you latch onto this word better, I think this is like a semantic bedrock thing for me. So there's things called unanalyzable primitives, where you can't analyze it in terms of anything more primitive than the actual thing we're trying to conceptualize. And so when we're at the bottom, like what D.E. Moore says about the good, some people think you can analyze it, in a more primitive way. Others don't, but it's just like an example. Like with betterness, for me, that seems like an unanalyzable primitive too. I really can't do it. I can't conceive of anything more fundamental. But
okay,
I think
how
I
is
can get
that
an inkling of what it means, though, when I say that it's better if the thing had it than if it didn't have it.
Well, so how is that different from homeopathy or voodoo here? So they say it's an unanalyzable principle. It is what it is.
I don't really know a lot about homeopathy, honestly. I really don't. So, like, do you know anything in particular that they
Homeopathy is the principle that water has memory, and that if you drink water that has the right memory, it can do stuff in your body.
Right.
But so if they say the essence of homeopathy is something that is fundamental, and I ask, well, how would you show that this water has this memory as opposed to this memory? And they say, oh, well, it's just a part of the memory. And then it's, well, what do you mean by that? And they're like, well, no, it's a primitive. It's a primitive. How is that different?
Oh, it wouldn't be different at all. I don't see why it would be different. But I would dispute whether or not it's a primitive. It seems more obvious to me that betterness would be a primitive than water. But I'd have to dialogue with them.
The memory of water. Water memory. So it's not the water, it's the memory of water.
Like, it seems to me that the concept of memory can be analyzed in terms of concepts that are more primitive. So I would just say the homeopathy guys are just wrong. That's not a primitive.
Explain that more. So what do you mean by water memory can be analyzed in something other way that
It's hard to say.
Morality
it's hard to say
can't.
because without talking, well, it's hard to say because I'm not talking to that person, but from my own background beliefs, I feel like we can analyze water in more primitive terms.
Well, it's memory, water memory. So it's a spiritual thing. It's the spiritual aspect of
Even
water.
memory.
What?
Even memory. Memory seems like a conceptually rich kind of concept.
Okay,
It seems
how is
like
that
we can break
different
that
from
down
good?
more.
What is the difference there?
Now, I'm at bedrock. I don't know. When I go to analyze goodness, and there's precedent in 20th century philosophy for this. When you try to analyze the concept of goodness, people just are like, it's conceptual bedrock. When you try to analyze it in terms of something else.
Start with the memory. So memory is not conceptual bedrock because.
Well,
Thank you for the super chat, Jacob. Appreciate it. The chair of the sluggard caves and got nothing, while the chair of the diligent richly supplied. Betterist 622. Yes. All right, go ahead. We're making up a joke Bible that is using the book of the chair.
dare
Making
you.
up verses. It's Betterist, verse Betterist
Does that have
622 to
books?
23.
Are you gonna have 66 books?
Maybe. So
166?
how is
So memory, so memory, I mean, this will just depend on how we break down so memory seems to me to involve more fundamental concepts like I don't know, it being a mode of cognition, and we can break down what cognition means.
wait?
It
So
can be a source of
let's go with that one.
justification.
So good could be a mode of cognition. So why would that be different here?
So it depends on what you mean by good. It depends on what you mean by mode. It depends on what you mean by cognition. So here's where I think this is where I keep. So let me try and go this way. I see what you're saying. I do, and I do, but I'm trying to tell you that we're still in the realm of imagination. So this is permissive. Right? We haven't even been through the actual.
Yeah.
I'm saying that even in imagination, what we can do is fix the reference of our words. We can say, what do you mean by that word?
Sure.
And I can say, here's what I mean by the word, and now I've fixed the sense of it. I think we both agree that words evolve, the meaning of words evolve. And you have to go to the person and say, well, what do you mean by, well, let's take atheism. What do you mean by atheism? What I mean by atheism is just what the majority of people call atheism, ACA and Dawkins and Harris. And I think we've said that for a while. And then you go to like William Rowe or Paul Draper, what do you mean by atheism? The SAT definition. And so they're fixing the sense of an identical word, right? And once that for me, this is intuitive to me. It seems like once you fix the sense of that word, relative to the way you fix that sense, that's what that word means. And you should go with the way that meaning was fixed by the person that's wielding the word or whatever. So I'd have to ask, what do you mean when you specify to me what you mean by mode, what you mean by cognition, and what you mean by memory, or I guess I was breaking down memory in terms of those concepts.
Right.
It seems like we can fix on a pretty objective.
Water memory is that it saves some property of a previous state and imparts that property onto whatever it is in now. Essentially, that's what we just call that memory.
Okay. So all those concepts, so previous state, past, present state, those also seem to be concepts that aren't primitive. I think I could break all those down a little more. Goodness is one of those.
We're just describing what the
rough
water
ones.
memory does. The water memory is the essence of water, and the essence of water is the primitive. And what it does is that it takes properties of a previous state and transfers it to a
Totally
future
agree.
state.
So I would go up to the homeopathy guy and disagree. I would say the essence of water, the in memory, is not primitive. Here's why.
Why?
And then we would dialogue back and forth.
Well, that's what I'm asking why, because my plan is I'm going to mirror what you say and show it's equally the same. as
Yeah.
better.
Perfect. This is where I'm going with this. So let's go with the mode of cognition thing. Memory isn't an unanalyzable primitive because I can analyze it in terms of modes of cognition. Because there's other modes of cognition. There's
Wait, go back. So the word memory just refers to what we're labeling the essence of water. The essence of water, the magical spiritual essence of water, is what we're talking about here. So you need to analyze the magical spiritual essence of water, which we call memory. It's not literally a mental state. It's not a mental state. We just call it memory because it does stuff.
perfect. So then I would go, what do you mean by water?
What do I mean by water? It's a primitive. The essence of water is a primitive.
It's a primitive. So you don't mean the liquid stuff that scientists study?
Nope, that's just an expression of the essence of water.
That's an expression of the essence of water. If what you mean by water is this, what was your exact words? If what you mean by water is...
The spiritual essence that transists previous states to current states.
And all of those string of words, you don't analyze those in any other way?
Well, some of them do, because I described what it is and then what it does. The what it does part you analyze in different ways. Those are all words that can be broken down into other more primitive things. But the what it is statement, though, spiritual essence of water, no, those are all primitive. Except because the water there refers to its expression in reality, which can be broken down. But the spiritual essence, that which is inside of those things, can't be.
So when I say that the concept of goodness is a unanalyzable primitive, I'm talking about the concept of goodness, not the thing that exists in the world that the sciences could study or anything like that. So is this essence of water, memory, or whatever, is that a concept of water?
Yes, so we're talking about the concept, the spiritual essence of water is a concept.
Right. So let me go a step at a time. So does that concept have content?
No, it's purely a primitive.
So I would say goodness has content. And content
Okay, but I'll change that. Yes, it has content. What's the content?
I want you to mirror it perfectly. Right. Mirror it perfectly. So the content of the concept of water is its essence, memory, whatever.
What is the content of goodness here, so I can follow along?
Well, so I can give you the meaning of goodness, but if I try to, like, in terms of like, that's good, in terms of particular cases, but when I go to analyze the concept of goodness, I can't analyze it without using the word good again.
Right, so I would say the same thing about water. The water, I can give you particular molecules of water, but if I try to analyze the concept of the essence of water, you're going to get more essence of water words.
You're losing me just a tad, right? Because I thought we were identifying water not with the liquid in the world, but with this essence of memory.
So there's this thing, the essence memory, which then exists within the water we see. So that's just the place it resides, which is why we call it water.
It's doing things that the concept of goodness, I'm having trouble with the mirroring thing. It's doing something that the goodness concept isn't doing. I see what you're doing with the mirroring thing. If the water thing sounds absurd, then so is the goodness one. I get what you're doing.
Yeah.
I'm trying. It's probably my fault. I can't see the similarity between the two because I don't know what the analogical counterpart is with goodness when it comes to actually existing water. Like good state of affairs, maybe.
Yeah.
States of affairs, like
there'd be like examples like punching a baby. So any moral example, helping an old lady across the street, punching a baby, all those cases would be examples of like moral particulars, and the water is the water particular.
Yeah, so I agree that there are moral particulars, right? Punching a baby and all that stuff, and that's obviously right. That's bad. Drowning babies is bad, right?
Maybe.
Maybe? You would say it's bad, right?
Yeah. I'm a moral realist, yes.
It's a moral realist, and it's not going to matter for what you're doing with the baby. But then when I look at, we have this imaginary homeopathy person that's postulating the existence of